Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am really excited to introduce you to coping mechanisms and emotional strategy as a part of the Survivor Summit 2025. Let's get started. Here's what we will discuss. You'll get a brief introduction to who I am, an introduction to the topic. The very core tool that we will be discussing is the circle of control. I'll be sharing a time and energy management resource that is very deeply integrated with the circle of control. We will talk a bit about navigating our emotions, letting go with peace, and creating constants. I hope you're ready. I hope you're logged in because I'm extremely excited and hyped up at 3:40 in the morning to share this information with you. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, a brief introduction to who I am. Hi, I'm Madhurima Sapati. I am a global stress management facilitator and an award-winning wellness coach who loves to support multi-passionate, ambitious dreamers manage their stress and prevent burnout. And I'm on a mission to make stress management fun, because why not? I think a lot of people assume that stress management by default is this really dark and heavy thing that's going to take too much time away from our personal and professional lives. And I get that assumption. I've held that assumption myself as someone who's been extremely stressed out for pretty much all her life, been through two major burnouts, like really bad ones at that, and have been told by a medical professional that Madhurima, the best way to manage your stress is to not get stressed out. Thank you so much. I'm so glad I was paying him, to give me this, the biggest piece of advice I've ever gotten around stress management, which is why it's really important for me to make stress management something that is tangible, that is something that you can work on. You have tools that you can start introducing into your life on a daily basis. And one of those tools is what I'm going to be introducing you to today. Now, a very brief introduction to the topic about coping mechanisms and the strategies that we have that I'll be sharing today and why it's important. About 5 years ago, just before I got started into entered the coaching world, essentially, I was extremely burnt out. I was coming out of a burnout, and I was like finding my own place in this world. Unfortunately, this was happening right at the start of the pandemic. I had, and still have to some degree, but back then I had really bad health anxiety, and the uncertainty of it all was really leading me to kind of spiral in a very bad way. I essentially had a midlife crisis because I had quit a job that I was extremely burnt out at. I had joined another company that I had to quit because of the pandemic, and so I was essentially floating in a space of I have zero idea what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. Like, I had zero purpose on how I want to move forward, where I'm supposed to take my life. The health anxiety and the uncertainty certainly did not help. And so it was during this time that some of the tools that I'll be sharing today made a really huge impact. I was also getting coached and mentored by a lot of people. But the tools that I'll be sharing today made a huge impact on how I approached my own stress, how I approached managing my own overthinking, because my overthinking, I am a storyteller through and through, and my overthinking would take me on journeys so beautiful and far fetched that I believed with a certainty that, yeah, things are going to happen to me specifically, and they're going to end up going really bad. So I created a bunch of coping strategies to support myself, and those are some of the strategies that I'll be sharing with you today. And I'm really excited to be holding the space for you and sharing these strategies with you. Okay, the circle of control. Now, this concept and tool was created by Stephen Covey in his book. And what I've done is, while I absolutely loved the original tool, I kind of interpreted it a bit to align with my own overthinking and kind of finding an element of control. Because at the end of the day, uncertainty or constant changes, the reason why it freaks us out so much, and I'm not going to assume like it's the truth for everyone, but for a lot of people, and for me specifically, it was the loss of control. It was not being able to understand which direction I'm going at. The steps that I am taking, are they steps that I'm taking on solid ground, or is it wobbly? Am I going to fall the very next step that I take? Like, is this a solid foundation. And so the loss of control is often what freaks us out during changes that are happening extremely rapidly. And so for me, the circle of control was a really powerful tool that I then kind of amalgamated into this beautiful tool that I'll be sharing with you today. And so the circle of control focuses on three core elements. We have things that we can control, things that we can kind of influence, and things that we cannot control at all. So when I am in this overthinking spiral, which still happens to this day, I'm not saying that I'm this perfect being who has figured it all out. We are constantly evolving as human beings, and so there are going to be new challenges. There are going to be spaces when we are overwhelmed, we are stressed out. And so tools like these are really important at every part of our journey, and we can shape it however we want to shape it. But the foundation that I want to share with you is, when we are in a space where we are overwhelmed, when where we are overthinking, where everything feels out of control, my invitation to you would be to first take a blank piece of paper and then just brain dump everything that is making you feel like, okay, this is what's happening right now. Just like, this is my reality at this point in time. Make a list of all the things that's happening to you at this point in time. Once the brain dump is done, what we're essentially going to do is divide it into three core elements. Things that we can control. So these are the things that we have absolute control over. We are the ones who are making the choices. We are not being influenced by other parties. We are not being influenced to make decisions that will align with others. These are things that we can control. We are like, yes, no. But I'm the one who's saying yes or no to specific things. Things that we can kind of influence are, we don't really know how things are going to change in the future, the directions that we are taking, which paths it's going to lead at, but we kind of have a vague idea of like, if I take X step, I'm going to be able to do Y in the future, right? Like, if I want to eat oats tomorrow in the morning and I want to eat overnight oats, if I soak my oats tonight, I will be able to eat oats tomorrow in the morning. What I add into the oats in the morning depends on whatever other supplies we have, like for garnishing and all of that jazz. But for me, to make the influence, things that I can influence is soaking those oats tonight. So those are things that we can influence. It can change in the future depending on different scenarios. Maybe I wake up tomorrow morning and I'm like, I don't really want to eat it. I don't really want to eat oats right now. Like, I want to try something else. Like, I want to grab a sandwich or something like that. Depends. But these are things that I can kind of influence, but I don't have complete control over. And then things that we cannot really control are, well, things that we cannot really control. We have zero control over how things are going to go. And while it seems overwhelming in and of itself to be able to make this decision, I think it also releases a lot of the pressure that we have on ourselves. Like, when we are sending interviews, we are giving interviews, so we are creating our resumes. The things that I can control is creating and adding everything that I can in the resume. The things that I can influence is potentially getting in touch with people within the company, creating a bond, networking, and all of that jazz, so that I have different angles of entry within the organization. Things that I cannot control is who the hiring manager is going to choose. Like, how much, irrespective of how much ever I worry about it, that is something that's out of my control. How people are going to respond to specific situations, it's out of our control because we can't do it. At the most, we can influence it, but we can't really make decisions for other people. So those are things that we cannot control. Now, once we have categorized our things that's happening to us into these three categories, things that I can control, things that I can influence, and things that I cannot control, we are going to let go of things that we cannot control. It is not worth the time and energy that we are putting into it. And I will be sharing a bit of a strategy on what we can do to let go of things that we cannot control. But that's at a later point in the presentation. And what we're going to do is focus our time, energy, and other resources on things that we can control and things that we can influence. And this is where the time and energy management conversation comes uh, into the session essentially. And what I'm going to do is, here's the thing: our resources are limited. Our time and energy and money is limited, and any other form of resource that you want to consider, human resources, people that we can bring into our teams to support us on specific tasks, all of these things are limited. So we are going to use it cleverly. We are going to strategize and input our resources in proper spaces, and time and energy is some of the biggest resources that we have that we can control. Like, it is in our control where we input our time, where we input our energy, right? So what I am going to do is I am going to spend, or I'm going to input about 80% of my time and energy on things that I can control. I will input about 20% of my time and energy on things that I can potentially influence. And the things that I cannot control, I'm not going to put any time and energy on it. Now, this seems like a very concept in and of itself, but a great metaphor to explore the circle of control and the time and energy management resource attached to it is essentially thinking of it like this: the things that I can control is the present. I get to make a choice of if I want to drink from this bottle of water. I get to make a choice if after this event is done, if I'm going to go to bed and grab, like this amazing amount of sleep and just chill and relax. That's something that I can influence. But things that I cannot control is potentially the past, right? So things I can control is the present. What am I going to do right now? Things that I can influence is the future, steps that I can take to create a future that I want to live in, the ideal future that I want to live in, and things that I cannot control is in the past. No matter how much I want to change it, I can't really change it. Right? I can learn from it, but I can't really change my past. And so that makes it a tad bit easier for us to understand where we are putting our time and energy and our other resources. Things that we can control in the present, I would invite you to input about 80% or the majority of your time and energy on it, because these are the active decisions we are taking right now for our present. We have absolute control over it. Things that we can influence, we don't really know how it's going to impact our future. We can kind of be like, if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to land at my destination, right? Potentially land at my destination. So I'm going to only input 20% of my energy. I don't know how things are going to change, which is once again a really important conversation for this summit. It's like we don't really know how things are going to change, how the future is going to change. So we are only going to input a minimum amount of energy on things that we can potentially influence, but we're going to input a majority of our energy on things that we can control right now in this moment. And things we cannot control, we're going to let it be. We're going to let it go. We're going to learn from it, but we're not going to input a lot of our energy and time and other resources on it. We can't change it. So we need to let it go. I hope this is landing so far. I hope it is making sense for everyone. Please feel free to put it in the comments if you have any questions so far. And yeah, if it is landing, let's move on to the next part of this particular session, which is navigating our emotions. Now, when we talk about the circle of control, things that we can control, things we can influence, things that we cannot control, it often leads to a lot of emotions. When we are in a scenario, in a world where things are rapidly changing and we don't really know where, how things are going to change and how it's going to impact us and the people around us and the world in general, we can get a lot of emotions that arise in us at this point in time. What we can do is navigate those emotions. Now, here's something important before we get started on this particular journey. What I would love to share with you is that no emotion is good or bad. There's no positive emotion or a negative emotion. An emotion exists because it's like, hey, so this particular situation happened and that led to this particular reaction, this particular emotion coming up. And emotion is almost like a signal of this particular thing happening and our body reacting and responding to it. So I'd love to invite you to look at it from a perspective of not it being a positive or a negative emotion, but more so being just an emotion, just the way our body is reacting and responding to scenarios. When we can embrace our emotions, we can navigate them a lot better, as opposed to it being like, this is, like, for example, a lot of people consider anger to be a negative emotion. And so it's like, oh, I hate anger, I hate being angry, blah, blah, blah. Understandable. I hate being sad, I hate being depressed. It's a negative emotion for a lot of people, but why is it happening? what is leading us to experiencing it. Once we navigate or we learn to embrace said emotions and navigate said emotions, a lot of times we are able to understand the origin, the reason why said emotion is coming into place, what are we responding to, what is our body reacting and responding to. Once we understand the origin, we are able to better support ourselves or receive help from others to support us during that origin point. Whatever is leading us to experience that emotions, we are able to better receive support around it. So, number one, embrace your emotions. They are not your enemy, they are not something that's here to destroy you. It's just a reaction, it's just a response to a situation arising. So, navigating our emotions, when we have a conversation around navigating emotions, this is a tool that I kind of came up with to make it a bit more easier for me to navigate my own emotions, and it's the NNAALLM technique, which is essentially when we have an emotion, we notice it. We notice that, oh, I am experiencing grief right now, or I am feeling extremely motivated right now, I'm feeling hyped right now, or I'm feeling sad, depressed right now, or I'm feeling very, mellow right now. Like my energy is at a low, my happiness is at a low right now. It's not like all hyper energetic person that I am in the morning when after I have had my, third cup of coffee or something like that. I don't drink that much coffee. But yeah, after I'm caffeinated enough, my energy is at a different level. So my mood is going to be completely different. But all that to say, the very first thing that we need to do is notice that we are experiencing an emotion, that we are reacting to something, we are responding to something. So we are noticing that an emotion exists. The next thing that we do is we name the emotion. Now this is really important because a lot of times we kind of boil it all down into, yeah, I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling happy. Like there are 3 to 5 emotions that we really focus on, but there are so many other emotions. And if you Google after our conversation is done, there are emotion wheels that you will find on Google. Or there's also this really cool tool called the mood meter that I personally use a lot within my community and with my clients as well. And it is a tool created by Mark Brackett, and it essentially tells us where our what our mood is based on our energy and our happiness level. Like how are we feeling right now, like what's the happiness level, but also what's the energy level, is it really high or is it really low. And it's a really cool tool, and I would love to invite you to check that out, because it makes naming your emotion a bit easier, a bit better. And so once you name it, you understand it a bit more. Right? So far we have noticed that we are experiencing an emotion, we have named our emotion. What we're going to do next is we're going to acknowledge it. Now, this is really important because a lot of times, and there is a tad bit of overlap, and sometimes it kind of leads to confusion. But for me personally, noticing that I'm responding to something and acknowledging that I'm responding to something is really important. And there's a really important line in there, because I can be like, yeah, I'm noticing that I'm experiencing something, but I won't acknowledge it. I won't be like, yeah, and I'm responding to something. I'm just going A lot of times we brush it aside, especially when we are in a fast paced environment where we don't have, or we feel like we don't have time and energy to focus on an emotion, so we don't really acknowledge it, we brush it aside. But acknowledging is really important when we are navigating our emotions. So we acknowledge that, yeah, I'm feeling, for example, anger. Yes, I'm feeling angry right now. That's an acknowledgement that anger exists in me right now. Acceptance, that's the next A, is really important, because you can acknowledge that anger exists, but we don't really accept it. We don't really accept that I'm angry because of this particular situation. Oftentimes it's like, yeah, anger exists, but like, I can't believe I'm angry about this. I can't believe, like, this particular situation led me to feel grief again. This particular situation led me to feel happiness again. A lot of times that acceptance can be a difficult pill to swallow, but it is also a really important pill to swallow. Understanding and accepting that this emotion is here right now because of this particular scenario, right? So accepting our emotions. So far we have noticed our emotion, we have named our emotion, we have acknowledged that it exists in us, within us, we have accepted that this emotion exists because of this particular scenario. What we are going to do next is lean into it And this is a really fun idea that I have, and it's also something that I've kind of taken from parts, essentially parts meditation. And it's essentially a way for us to be able to imagine our emotion, right? So what I do when I am feeling an emotion at a very high level is I sit down and I imagine it as a blob. I put it into whatever shape I want to put it. And then what I do is have a conversation. And I know it sounds very hippie. I know it sounds very, what does that mean? Like, Madhurima, you're so dumb. Like, no. Leaning into our emotion is a great way for us to, and having that conversation is a great way for us to actually understand why this particular situation is leading us to experience this particular emotion. This is why. For example, when we are healing through something, healing is not a straight line. Or when we are growing in our careers, growth is not a straight line. We can take 10 steps forward, 5 steps back, and that can lead us to experience a specific emotion. Or when we feel like we have healed through a particular situation already, but a reminder of that comes or triggers us, we can go back into that emotion we felt when we first experienced a particular scenario, and that can lead to additional emotions. So if I'm feeling hurt because of an event that triggered me feeling hurt and has triggered me feeling hurt in the past, I can also feel anger around it, like, oh my god, I thought I've already healed through this, like, why is this happening again? I thought I'd worked on this already. So there can be multiple emotions kind of covering up the core emotion. So leaning into it and having a conversation, like, hey, so what's up, why are we here, what is happening, and having that conversation. And you can close your eyes and imagine it being the Inside Out movie. Like, we have different emotions, we have different shapes, and having that conversation actually helps us understand that, oh, I'm angry because I'm still feeling hurt about a situation that I've already healed from. So I'm feeling anger around that. But then when you have that conversation with anger and you let it go, you can then have a conversation with the core emotion that you're feeling, which is hurt, and lean further into it. So leaning into your emotions is really important, and then letting it go. Once again, we'll be tapping a tad bit into that in the very next slide. But letting go of our emotions. Uh, at the start of this conversation, I mentioned that emotions are not positive or negative, they are just a reaction or a response to a particular situation, to an origin story, essentially. And when we embrace our emotions, when we have conversations, and we are not like pointing our fingers at our emotions as being the core element, like, oh my god, anger, this is all your fault, as opposed to, oh, the situation arise which led me to feel angry and led you to be created back into the space. When we have that conversation and we understand why specific things are happening, what's the pattern, and then we work on the start of the pattern. We work on, okay, yeah, you know what, that's understandable. It's understandable that we are angry right now. Thank you for being here, thank you for making me aware of this particular situation leading to your existence. Let's work on it. What have we done in the past that has worked? What have we done in the past that hasn't really worked? What can we do now so that this situation doesn't hurt us again, or this situation doesn't lead us to feeling grief? And then once we understand it, we can implement it, and then the cycle might continue in the future. You might experience the same cycle happening all over again, but you are able to heal and work on it and get out of experiencing those emotions, not from a space of hate, but from a space of, okay, yeah, let's work on it. This worked, this didn't work. Let's shift things so that we can work on making sure that this origin thingy is not leading us to experiencing hurt again. Right? So we let go. Once we have learned everything we can learn from our emotions, we let go. We are like, thank you so much for making me aware of your presence. And then once we let go of it with peace, then we move on. Then we move on to whatever life awaits us on the other side of this conversation. And I think this is really important because when we're talking about navigating emotions, once again, people are often looking at it from a very negative lens, like, okay, yeah, anger. We are going to talk about what made us experience anger. We are going to talk about what made us experience grief, sadness, this feeling of just depression. But then it can also be kind of angled at, okay, what made us feel joy today? Like, why are we so happy today? What's happening here? Leaning into it and understanding what led us to experience joy can be a great way for us to repeat that origin story multiple times so that we keep getting joy from it. We keep feeling happy because a particular situation is happening, right? The more we learn, it's all about self awareness. But the more we learn about this, the easier it gets for us to understand ourselves and navigate our emotions and either repeat or pause or work on how we can ensure that the origin doesn't happen all over again for us to experience this particular cycle. I hope this is landing so far. I hope this is making sense. It's not gone too much into the woo woo space. Okay, awesome, awesome. Let's talk about letting go with peace. Now, letting go with peace is something that it feels pretty chaotic, but it is something that is very, very relieving, I feel, at the end of the whole journey. And you can let go with peace in multiple ways. One of the ways that I have found to be the best ways to letting go of my emotions with peace is um, by getting it out of my body. Here's what I mean. At the end of the day, emotion is nothing but energy in motion, a specific energy in our body coming in, and we are like, a specific thing happened, we had an emotion. A lot of times we either brush it aside or we kind of like shove it deep down and hope that we don't have to look at it, but then that energy gets stuck, and that leads to us experiencing a lot of hurt. And there are a lot of books that talk about this. There is, you know uh, conversations around how trauma stays in our body because of specific things. And so it's really important for us to move that energy, and navigating our emotions helps us move that energy, not let it get stuck, not let it get brushed aside or shoved deep down. We actually let it flow out of us. So when we let go with peace, one of my favorite techniques to do that is essentially grab a piece of paper and then just start writing what is happening to me. So it's a pretty much a very dear diary moment, if you will. Like, dear diary, this happened today, and that led me to feel this, and that led me to feel this. And at the start, it feels very silly. It absolutely does. I'm not gonna lie. It feels like, what are we doing? Like, I'm a 30-year-old woman. Why am I doing that? But what it actually helps us do is, even though it feels silly at start, once we start writing and we start expressing our emotions, it's a great way for us to move that energy out of our body and into that piece of paper. And even though it feels very hiccupy and it feels like you have to cross multiple hurdles to get to that flow, once you start writing, you will eventually reach that space where you're just like, okay, I guess that's what I was feeling today. And what we can do post that is just grab that piece of paper, and you can either keep it in your diary for the next time that you experience said emotion, or the next time you experience this particular origin story or pattern. You can go back and you're like, last time I felt exactly this, and this is what I did, this is what I felt. And it helps you to navigate your emotions a bit better. Personally, for me, I prefer to just, you know, grab a candle, light it up, and then just burn the paper. Very carefully, but burn it nonetheless, because it is a great way for me to just feel that energy actively getting out of my body and then disappearing into the mist. And that feels very, very relieving. Let's say you don't want to do that. What you can also do is grab a friend, be like, hey, so I'm gonna rant at you for like 5 minutes. I've put on a timer. Are you open to it? Is that something that you're open to right now? You have the space for that. And if they say yes, you put on a timer for 5 to 10 minutes, and then you start complaining. Complain your butt off. Just be like, this happened and that happened, and yeah. And then what you're essentially doing is getting it out of you. And after that timer rings, once again, at the start, it might feel like, what is happening? I don't really want to do this. I feel very whiny. I feel like no one understands me. Why am I doing this? Blah, blah, blah. But then once you start talking and once you start complaining actively and you're giving yourself the space to do so in a safe and non judgmental space with a safe and non judgmental person, it can feel very relieving. It can just let you to let go of all your worries, and you don't even have to do it with your friend. You can just put on a timer and do it on a daily basis if you want to, with yourself in front of the mirror if you want to. Whatever works best for you, whatever you're the most comfortable with, but get it out of your system, either through writing or through speaking it out loud, but get it out of your system. And the importance of having that timer is so that you are not constantly looping and spiraling in the same space, because that can happen, right? Like once we start complaining, we are like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do the same exact thing about the same exact conversation again and again and again. We can kind of get stuck like a broken record. Navigate your emotions, take as much time as you need to, but sometimes it is very easy for us to get stuck in this spiral without realizing that we are stuck in that spiral. So having that 5 to 10 minute timer is a great way for us to be like, this is a contained space, I'm going to get my emotions out. But then after those 10 minutes, after the timer rings, we are going to take a deep breath. We are going to sit in nature for a while or just do something that rejuvenates us. And then we are going to find a solution for this particular problem. So you can let it go with peace in multiple ways. You can write it all down and save it, write it all down and burn it, or just speak it out loud, either with a friend or with yourself, and get it out of your body. That is a great way to let go of peace. There are multiple techniques, but I wanted to leave you with, once again, tangible techniques and tools that you can implement in your daily life. So yeah, that's letting go with peace. Hope it is landing with everyone so far. Let's go, let's go. Thank you so much, Kara. Uh, the last thing that we're going to be talking about is creating constants. And I think this is really important in a world that's constantly changing. Is once again, it feels like things are out of our control. We can't really do anything. And what creating constants does is it creates spaces in our daily life where we are like, I am in absolute control of this particular moment. And that can look like whatever. It can look like when I wake up in the morning, 5 minutes on the bed, I'm going to think about how my day is going to look. I'm going to think about the future, the ideal future that I want to live in. Or it can look like after I wake up and I've freshened up, done all the things that I need to do. I'm going to go and say good morning to all the flowers, which I do. Absolutely, imagine me frolicking in my balcony garden and saying hi and good morning to all the flowers, because I absolutely do that. But it's a great way for me to ground myself. Or uh, every single day, while I'm having my lunch break, I'm going to watch a YouTube video. Or at night, I'm going to go out and stargaze. Whatever that looks like, creating constants essentially is creating pockets of time and space in your life where you're like, no matter what happens, no matter how much life changes, I will be able to do these things. I'll be able to step into these pockets of control, these pockets of constants in my life, no matter what happens. And my invitation to you as we kind of wrap this space up is, have a thinky and come up with as many fun constants as you can. That's your homework. If nothing else, come up with fun constants. And don't you can brainstorm like multiple things that you can do, but I would invite you to start with at least one of them. Brainstorm multiple activities that you can try, but at least start implementing one of them on a daily basis to see what that looks like and feels like for you. And let me know if that empowers you as life changes around us. So, yeah, that is creating constants. I hope this made sense. Thank you so much for having me here today.